his campaign is not funded by McCain. He is his own man, and he knows that this group has in the past supported Jesse Kelly, but he wanted the opportunity, since he wasn't in the election at that time, he wanted the opportunity to come talk to us and tell us what he's got to offer. And so, honored to have him.
Thank you. You know, I've been asked a lot, when I said I want to go to Portal, everyone has been asking me, well, we've had some other Republicans that have come down to speak to folks here. I know David Stevens was here not too long ago. I know Gail Griffin was here. And I know that Gabrielle Giffords did go after the murder down here. But people have said, well, what are we going to do to get the Democratic Party to actually pay attention to border security in the area? Well, I got an answer for that. I have a Democrat who follows me everywhere. So he basically films me at every speaking engagement, so I'm already delivering. I'm making sure that that happens. And so if you have a message to send back to the Democratic Party at the state party, you can talk to him after the presentation, and he can talk to you. I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. I went to the U of A. I enlisted in the Army in 1999. I started out as a private, worked my way up to getting my sergeant's stripes, and in 2002 I got commissioned as an officer as a second lieutenant. I was elected to the State House in 2004, and I went on to serve in the House for 2 terms, and I was elected to the State Senate in 2008. And my district was District 30. I represented East Tucson, Green Valley, Sierra Vista, parts of 3 counties. I went all the way down to Tubac and Amado, and also represented Sonora, Patagonia, and Canela. So it's a pretty big area, some rural, some urban, and I was born and raised in this area, so I know, at least in southern Arizona, I know a lot of the issues that you're facing. I have a lot of people in my district that were concerned about border security, and that's something I want to talk about tonight. Not long ago, I got a call from Congressman Jeff Flake. He is the congressman of the East Valley in Maricopa County. And he called me up and he asked me if I would be willing to testify in front of Congress. And he said, can you go to testify? And I said, sure. When do I need to go? And he said, well, that's the problem. You need to fly out tomorrow morning. And this was a Tuesday night or something like that. You'd have to fly out Wednesday morning. And I said, well, what am I supposed to talk about? And he said, well, we're not exactly sure yet. But it's going to have to do with something about border security. And I said, well, when would I be testifying? He said, well, you'd be testifying Thursday morning. I said, so when am I going to prepare for what I'm supposed to say to the people in Congress? And he said, well, you'll have to do that on the plane. And so this woman sat next to me on the plane, and when I finally figured out what I was supposed to testify about, she spent the entire time getting those little airline alcohol bottles. And with every single bottle, my speech got a little bit better. So I went through that, and he finally got a chance to tell me what the topic was. And the way it works in Washington is, it's interesting because the majority, in this case the Democratic Party, they know what the topic's going to be months in advance. And they have their witnesses all planned out. But the minority gets to find out at the last minute. And they have to scramble to find somebody to testify, and they only get one witness. And I was the guy on the block that they found. And here's the topic. The topic was guns, drugs, and violence are U.S. inputs to cause. Let me decode that for you. Guns, drugs, violence are U.S. inputs to cause. What that means in English is how is the gun, drug, and violence problem our fault that's happening in Mexico? That's literally what the topic was in this meeting that I was to go to. So I flew up there, I showed up, and what they really wanted to do is they wanted to show how the fact that we have the Second Amendment and we're able to buy what we want to buy under the Second Amendment, the laws of this country, is causing the gun problem in Mexico. And what they wanted to do was to take away our Second Amendment rights, to reinstitute the assault weapons ban, and use this as an excuse to do that. Well, I believe in Second Amendment rights. And when I showed up at this meeting, they have what's called I call it like a green room. It's kind of the waiting room that you wait in before you go on there. And I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie to you, because I was thinking to myself, the last time I saw a full hearing in front of Congress, it was Ollie North having to get grilled and raising his right hand on the Bible and everything like that. And I don't know how it was going to turn out for him. And all of a sudden, someone runs into the room, and they said, Senator Payton, we've got big news. They brought a gun into the chamber out there. And I looked out, and through the crack in the door, I could see they had a .50 caliber sniper rifle. And they said they're going to use that somehow in their testimony. And the point is that this weapon was bought in the United States, and it was being used by the cartels in Mexico. And they wanted to use this as an example of, it's so easy to buy these weapons. And I said, that's okay, because I had my own hearing in Phoenix, and we had our own .50 caliber sniper rifle, and I know what to say when we get to that point. So I went out there, we sat down, you've got a table set up, you sit down at the table, and it's just like you see on TV. They have a little microphone, a little water bottle, and right at the dais is a lot higher than where you are. It's like God's judgment looking down on you. And they're all sitting up there. And they have a little camera, a little bit lower than his, facing you. And wherever you look, or wherever it's on, it's a computerized thing, and it follows you. It's kind of creepy, the way it follows you around.
You don't like that one?
I don't even know. It's a little different, but same sort of kind of big brother principle at work there. So I'm sitting there, I'm testifying. They had different people that were testifying, and they had two of them, I don't even think have ever been to the border area, that were testifying on their behalf. And what I told them about was on Christmas Day, this is a little bit different than your experience here in Portal, but in Christmas Day, a man was seen running naked in Maricopa County, leaving a drop house. They found him, he took them back to the drop house. They found about 40 people crammed into a room about the size of a child's bedchamber, shackled up, beaten, with the room next door that they used to torture them to extort more money. And I told them this story. And I said, this is basically the modern equivalent of a slave ship that you'll see up there in Phoenix. And I also told them the fact that a house like that, each person is worth about $2,000 a head. And each one of them, there's about 3 loads per week. There was 40 people times, I would say, they estimate there's about 1,000 of those houses all over Maricopa County. And they asked me, well, I think they wanted to know why that's relevant. Why does that matter? And I said it matters because of what you're talking about. The same people that are smuggling guns, the same people that are smuggling cash into Mexico are the same people that are smuggling people and drugs in the United States. And if the Mexican government would pay as much attention to their border security as we're at least trying to on our side of the border, a lot of this violence would be reduced dramatically. And I also told them, what's it like when you go from the United States, or when you go from the United States into Mexico? On the legal basis, if you try to go through Nogales or another port of entry in Douglas, you've got the whole border checkpoint, you go through, you talk to everybody, they ask you where you've been, they ask you if you've got any drugs on you, they look at your car, they've got in your Fort Huachuca, they've got the aerostat in the air, they've got this entire infrastructure set up that they're trying to find out who you are and what you're doing. What's it like when you go into Mexico for the United States?
Drive in.
You just drive in. If you're down in Nogales, and that's usually the place where I go if I cross the border, you can drive down to McDonald's and you walk through the turnstile. That was my point. There is no border security on their side at all. And the same people that are causing a lot of these crimes are the same ones that are going down into Mexico and coming back to the United States. That's important because that equation has been completely left out by the Democrats running Congress right now. They want to blame everything on the United States, and they don't want to blame anything on Mexico at all. To me, that's a scandal. And here's what I said when they asked me about trying to take away Second Amendment rights. Because they said, do you really think, Senator, that we need to have a .50 caliber sniper rifle like that in the United States? Do we really need to have that available?